water wall.
Nothing happens in this world. What's going on? Sup, Soup? This is Nick.
Crispy.
And Tyler.
And collectively, we're Weeb Soup. Today's episode is near and dear to the heart as we come to a close on some of our content here so far. And this is essentially going to be the end of Season 1. So, we have a little bit of headcanon as far as what our big three should be.
Yeah.
And so each one of us has selected a title that has ended up becoming near and dear to our hearts. And we also know that they're very popular shonen, so... without further ado, I guess I'll take point and just bust out My Hero Academia. They're behind me. They're on another tapestry in front of me. I pretty much surround myself with these things. And so, I'll start off by saying the premise of the quirks is one of the coolest ways to ever explain a superpower society ever. You have a genetic variance that changes the physiology, granted a very small and pretty dumb change, but it changes the physiology of the human body.
Yes.
When you get a quirk, it fuses one of the knuckles in your pinky toe.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, like I said, kind of dumb, but...
Weird flex, but okay.
Right. But when we find out that the doctor, when Midoriya goes through the doctor, he tells him that he has that and does not have a quirk. And that poor boy. See, okay. I also like our protagonist for the first time in a shonen in so long, from day one. Granted, he is a little whiny sometimes, but what 12-year-old isn't? So I'll give him a little bit of room.
Mm-hmm.
At least he's not Naruto. Because I remember when I first started watching Naruto, the first half of that show
Give me
was...
when you first met Naruto at the Bell Exchange, Mr. Kakashi.
Yeah. But anyways, he was an annoying little shit. And I do enjoy all the character progression that he got. But you can also kind of see where that kind of reestablished the protagonist role for some of these anime. Because ever since then, you kind of deviate from the action hero, like Goku-esque characters.
Right.
That goes from like Dragon Ball to Toriko to some semblances in One Piece, because it's really like that was the thing. Like you got to be like fucking massive fighter.
Even
Hercules.
Fairytale had that kind of character design.
Yes, we'll put it there.
We'll put it there. That Naruto had, and some of their characters, the personalities never changed. You know,
Yep.
From start to finish, they were the same characters through and through. Deku has, at least to me, got some of the best character progression I have seen in any newer anime.
Right.
And I absolutely love his progress.
Oh,
Just
yeah, definitely.
From beginning to where he is now. I absolutely love every bit of it.
And just as a quick disclaimer, this isn't going to go into any manga territory. I promised a certain few individuals that I would allow them more time before I spoil things. So, manga enthusiasts other than myself, we know. Okay, we get it. But anime, as far as that goes, we're setting back in close to the Chisaki arc. So, man, even up till that point, Overhaul in general was also ridiculous. But anyways, to fill in the gap here a little bit, because I'm on a time slot, kind of. I love the way and how humorous it was that Midoriya got One for All.
Eat my hair!
Eat your what?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, other than that, he literally had to clean an entire beach of trash. He was but one boy. He's not a man.
And
That
even
was
did
an
more than what he was supposed to do.
That
Yeah.
was an incredible training.
And I was
arc.
like, one
I'll
of the
give it to
first
him.
times that I've ever like fallen in love with a support character like All Might, because I honestly couldn't stand him at first. I was like, I love Chris Sabat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he'll never do any wrong as far as a part and role that he plays, because he's like basically the voice of my childhood. There's so many characters. But anyways,
Cool bar.
All Might just fell short for me at first, and he was just this like 50s looking ultra buff Dragon Ball esque hero,
Yeah.
and I liked some stuff, but he was just like, I don't know, reminded me too much of The Incredibles for no reason.
I got the Armstrong vibe from
Oh,
Might
yeah.
immediately once I saw him. Like, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
him. I love everything he's a part of. And I actually, the minute I personally fell in love with the show was the minute Deku realized it's not an egg, it's a pastry in a microwave. And then he used all for one for
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I always get them mixed up. I don't know why.
It's not hard. They're the same words.
Yeah.
When he starts like using it throughout his entire body, I'm just sitting there going, yes!
Like Midoriya when he was watching one of All Might's fights.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But yeah, and then going into the thing, the being that is fucking, oh my god, why am I blanking so hard? Not Dabi. I literally just had it. This is awful.
League of Villains?
Yeah. Stain, Hero Killer Stain.
Stain,
Good
yes.
lord. See, it's been a minute since I've watched the anime, so I'm like, blaming Tyler.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the phenomenon that is Hero Killer Stain and the way that they were able to kind of work together between Midoriya and Ida to bring him down, that was cool stuff, man. Like, they were like basically like same way that they were hyping up Frieza, King Kai was like, and the thing that you don't want to do is fight this guy.
So what are we gonna do? We're gonna fight this guy.
Well, to be fair, they met him in an alley and kind of were like, oh, we have to fight this guy or we die.
Yeah.
Well, Ida found him in the alley. He's like, I have to fight this guy,
Or I die.
or I die. And then Deku came in. It's like, I have to fight them, or they'll die. And then Todoroki comes in. Says, I have to fight them, or everybody's gonna die. And it was just a huge snowball from there.
So yeah, you get all that, but I guess and then we get into just the craziness that was all of the festivals, like the sports festival and shit,
Oh, man.
and
Yeah.
Favorite moment from the sports festival, right?
getting debuted
One of
all of everybody's quirks, even at the very beginning. Like, I loved from the first time that they were doing shot put, and
Yeah.
and they're just like, okay, well, apply your quirk and make this thing go crazy, and Bakugo's like, I'm
That
gonna
first-
blow it up.
That first showing of like quirk and quirkless of like how much difference there is was absolutely incredible, and
And-
like it showed where Midoriya was and where he is. Like,
And looking at it from like a physical or a scientific point of view, you really get to see how much thought got put into putting the mechanics and the physics of these abilities in play outside of the hero role.
right.
That's so dope, and no one does that. So
Right.
you get this whole ass new perspective on what a power could be applied to,
right.
and have it be completely mundane, honestly, other than testing your own ability.
right.
But it's not destructive or anything. It's super dope.
Just an average physical fitness test that is
Yeah.
now like badass because people are just like, oh, a ball. Goodbye for
Infinity.
Infinity.
Looking at you, Uraraka.
Right?
I personally loved when Deku, well, it was Deku's turn to throw the ball, and he ended up throwing it like, what, 0.5% further than Bakugo, and it just drove Bakugo crazy.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so up until that point in their lives, in Bakugo's life in general, he was like second to none.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
there was such a huge gap between Bakugo and literally everyone else in his
now
class
there's
until
a
they entered UA.
5% gap.
Yep, and he was just like,
Well,
I'm gonna
he's
shit
got
my
that.
pants over it.
And then-
Bakugo's my favorite character, but
And then shits in
he still
Bakugo's
shits his pants
in
over
the
some
sports
shit.
festival.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like,
Goes-
why is everybody so strong? I'm the strongest. But and then you get into, honestly, the overhaul arc is, the Chisaki arc is probably my favorite. One, I get my boy Mirio out of it.
Yeah,
I'm real happy
love
that they gave
Mirio.
more screen time for Kirishima. Like that season, he really shone.
I was definitely about to say that too,
when,
because
when they
like,
showed him in the sports festival, they did him so dirty.
yep.
They
Could-
gave
give him this
another exact
same
Kirishima.
power.
Tetsu Tetsu.
Tetsu Tetsu.
Tetsu 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 Tetsu.
Yeah.
My personal
Copy,
thing
copy,
was
copy,
the
copy.
fact that he was
Murder face, murder face, murder face, murder face.
his power was virtually like Kirishima's just metal. and the voice actor they did for the dub was Gagio from Fairy Tail. And I
That's
absolutely
right.
love that little thing that they threw in there. I didn't
Yeah.
know if it was
Yeah.
intentional. I think it was intentional. I'm
Mhm.
gonna believe it was intentional. I'm delusional. Ignore me.
Fair enough.
Carry
and,
on.
And then that's honestly when we get into the quirks that I like the most, because looking at it from the scientific perspective, you have some of the most applicable quirks to everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
Permeation.
Yeah.
I mean, other than your clothes having to come off whenever you permeate through
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
I love the way they explain that he can just kind of bounce through the earth and pick up speed and pick up height and it just what?
Yeah.
It's amazing use of momentum, man. Like nobody who would have thought of that. Just
He can't be there, so he's got to go somewhere. Just
and then you have Aerie, a time bender.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Like she doesn't heal wounds, she reverses them. And
A little
then
bit like God, what's her name in Bleach?
Orihime.
Orihime. I want to
yeah,
say
Yeah.
Yorihime.
yeah, because Santen Keshun creates a pocket dimension inside of the thing that reverses time.
Right, and like brings it back. Basically, same
Yep.
thing Ari does, but
Yeah, and then you have Overhaul himself, who can disassemble and reassemble anything he touches.
Including people.
It is like you get the decay quirk, but then you get to bring stuff into a different shape,
Right.
and that's friggin' dope. And I totally understand why he lost his arms. But I think that Chisaki was done so dirty.
He was. I
He really
as much of a
was.
fuck as he was for what he did to Eri, he didn't deserve.
I could have
Felt bad for
seen
him.
I did too.
I could have
Like,
seen a Vegeta style redemption arc real easy.
I don't.
Maybe
might get
I
a
don't know.
armless
He's
one.
still of a fuck for what he
He
did to
just like
Eri.
headbutt stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
I
rebuilds
agree.
It.
But I mean,
Ooh.
Vegeta also did similar stuff and I don't know, blew up planets and committed genocide. But we like
Yeah,
him.
but didn't experiment on kids.
That's true. That's a different line.
I don't know what Saiyans were about when they were at Homer before then.
Yeah, at that point they just killed them all, but he didn't experiment on them and basically
Eh.
reset the child. whenever he
Morality
was
describes
done.
that all things are bad if that's bad.
True.
I mean,
True.
if it's under the label of evil, then I mean, it's pretty much equivocally terrible.
I don't want to feel good.
I mean, would
I
you?
want to feel
That's
evil.
like asking who's worse, Hitler or Stalin.
but they never.
One
got
was bad with
redemption
money.
arcs.
One was bad with people. They're both evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I can't go as hard as I want to on this subject yet. But I guess at this point I have occupied enough of my space that I'll let somebody else talk for a minute.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go for it, my man.
So originally, whenever we did this topic, it was like June or July of last year. So I'm using notes from June or July of last year when we originally did this topic. So I'm covering Black Clover. It's going to be a little bit retroactive because some more stuff has happened, some more characters have developed, whatnot. And also, this is not fresh in my memory. I didn't write this today. But we're going to get through it. Stick with me. I promise. I hope I make it worth it. But just to start off, I think Black Clover's my personal favorite of what we consider the new big three. And just to start, the very first episode, they built up how Asta had no powers, no mana, in a land that magic was everything. You see farm workers just like not lifting up, but like using rakes with their powers, just shooting water with their powers. Like every aspect of this world uses magic. He is an anomaly. And then by the end of the episode, after not getting a grimoire, after being embarrassed in front of all of his peers, he now has to fight for his friend who got the most powerful grimoire. And not only does he fight for him with his bare hands and no magic, he also gets a badass grimoire and a badass sword out of it. And that's the first episode. Like, if you're not hooked on it by then, I don't know what to tell you. That's everything I want out of an anime in an episode.
He
Like,
pulls this massive black sword out of a book that pops up out of nowhere.
Goes half. I was shocked, like utterly speechless. Yeah, and like gets this crazy sword, and the way it just drops into the ground, and he just like half demon form grabs it and looks up at him. It's
my
like,
God.
Just
oh my
one
goodness.
That was
shots
so
him.
dope. Yeah.
Oh man.
But moving on from just the first episode, character development. Asta's character development is a little bit flat. It's not as robust as I would like even yet, but his character development is refusing to give up on his morals, which he continually doesn't do, and he continually gets stronger and stronger morals. And he physically gets stronger. Like, he goes from being a peasant to being as tough as damn near a Magic Knight's captain. So, like, that is a whole nother level. Then for side characters, you've got Gordon going from not being able to speak his mind to anybody to being openly communicative. You've got Luck going from wanting to fight over the memory of his mom to fighting for his friends.
I love
You've
Luck.
I know I love
I
him too.
love Luck.
You've got Vanessa going from a drunk that never had anyone close to her to gaining a fate-changing power that strictly works for her friends and like the people in the Black Bulls. And that's just a few of the character developments. I had more and I got rid of some of them. But the fights, literally, like, for the first 150 episodes or so, I don't know, for like the first 120 episodes or so, literally every fight, or every 1 to 5 episodes, there's a new fight, and it's not just a one-off, like, oh, we've kind of gotten boring, let's throw a fight in there. It's like a legitimate arc is built up to this fight, and it's going to last 2-3 episodes, like, and completely action-filled, too. It's not one of them is boring. The worst one, in my opinion, was the zombie arc, and that's just because I wasn't feeling it too much. And, like, it was still action-packed. Like, there was fights. It was the first time you saw, like, magic captains in action, and, like, it was all over the map.
Honestly, that out of that whole little snippet right there, my favorite moment of that was before, when Asta stood up to all the captains, pulls out his second sword, and was like, fuck you, come fight me right now.
See, and even, like, the side parts of it were still incredible. Like, always yelling.
Yelly boy!
Side characters in fights get to be extremely helpful in the fights. It's not just one main character raffle stomping everybody that they come across. Like, it is main characters who are legitimately helping, or side characters legitimately helping more main characters, but without everybody, they would have failed. And shout out to Sora, My Friends Are My Power. Took that straight from Kingdom Hearts and put it into action.
Yeah, they did.
I loved, like, early on, the combination between Finral and Vanessa with Asta. That in loop that they kept doing was just amazing. I love that her reds were virtually naked to the eye. Like, you couldn't really see them. You couldn't really sense them with magic. They were just there, existing.
And everywhere. And, like, she could move him in any direction. And if, like, she couldn't move him fast enough, portal. Like, there he goes.
You know, Finral had enough concentration to make a simple portal about that big for Asta to just go in and out of.
And that was character developing for Finral. He never fought before that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Fights are not only action-packed, but midway through, they will have a backstory scene. And, like, it's not one of those drawn-out ones where you're like, come on, get back to the fight. It's usually, like, a split second of, like, okay, that helps me understand the character, and it helps me understand this power-up that they're getting. And not only have they had awesome fights, but they've done the shonen anime trope where, twice now, where the opening, very first intro comes into the fights and, like, plays during the final scenes of it. I love that trope. It's one of my favorite tropes in anime.
Same.
Dragon Ball Super's done it during the Tournament of Power recently. I guess I wasn't recently. I'm dumb. But
it's still great. It's one of my favorites. I mean, Tokyo Ghoul's one of my new favorites, and they did it, like, 3 or 4 times, and I was like, that might be why it's one of my favorites.
I guess I was thinking, like, some of the most recent times I've seen it.
The comedy, Noelle blasting Asta anytime he does anything semi-nice to her. Yami talking about the bathroom or threatening any of the Black Bulls in the show just because it's hilarious. There's a ton of jokes that are strictly between the characters and between the characters and the audience, because now you know how weird these little hooligans are.
Yep.
I have a personal connection to Yami because even in my 20s, I do constantly go to the bathroom as well.
Yami's pretty cool though.
But yeah, examples of the comedy are the Mixer episode where Noelle follows Asta on a triple date. Like, that was hilarious from beginning to end and set up one of the most badass arcs in the show.
God, yeah.
There's the Star Festival where not only Asta finally gets recognized, but on top of that, you see him get blasted all around. You see Charlotte and Vanessa vying for Yami's love in a drinking contest and a costume contest. You see Yami and Jack's rivalry through a cook-off. and then a legitimate fight that ends with their pants around their ankles. Like, it's an incredible show, and
That
like
probably
the
would have
comedy always
broken
hits.
a lot of things if that fight had actually gone through. If the Wizard
were
King
using-
hadn't have stopped it, oh man, it would have been like Naruto Final Valley level.
They're using their
Destruction.
legitimate, like, strongest moves on each other. Like, if you die, I guess you were a punk. Like, I don't know what to tell you. The feels when Asta. This is my next section. The feels when Asta loses his arms to curse magic, and you see the whole squad behind him, feeling terrible for someone who would give anything for just causes and to do the right thing, and now he's not able to fight. Then you've got Asta talking shit to life itself because he's like, I'm not gonna give in. Like, keep throwing it at me. I will take
Fuck
it.
you,
I'm the one to
Destiny. I ain't
handle
doing
it.
shit.
Right. And another example
Oh, are we
is-
talking to our game now?
Another example is when Luck is saved from the elves and he just starts bawling and asking if he can still be in the Black Bowls because he doesn't think he should be a part of it
That
anymore.
broke me. He felt so bad for the stuff that, because he could still see everything that was going on. He felt
Couldn't control
so
it.
bad for attacking his friend. Man,
As he should have. People
Like,
that
characters
desert
that
their
they
friends
did
are
with Ark.
trash.
Honestly, out of
Kakashi
all the
quote, very
characters,
nice. Well done.
next to Gordon and Gray and Henry for breaking out of their shells and doing a little bit more stuff, I really like what they did with Luck and had him not more just, I'm going to fight everything that moves, and have it, these guys are friends. He understands what
Right.
friends are, and I
Mhm.
absolutely
And
love
for a
that.
long time, he didn't.
He-
Like, it
no, he
wasn't until
didn't.
he met Asta, and Asta was like, we fight for our friends. And he was like, what? Flashback moment. Breaking old traumas.
Is this friendship?
Right. I'm not gonna. I'm already overstepping my time, but I'm gonna just say a little bit. The cast, everybody's crazy. They've all got their own little quirks and idiosyncrasies that just make them more and more lovable. And then you've got fire openings: Black Rover, Black Catcher, Sky and Blue, Grandeur. There's another one that I just can't remember the name of. Opening 12. Like, always fire openings, which I love to see in an anime too. But that's personally why I think Black Rover or Black Clover is my personal favorite out of the big three anime. But you got Demon Slayer on the list.
Yeah,
What's
man,
going on with that?
I got Demon Slayer. Out of all of the anime and manga that I've read so far, Demon Slayer is the only one that I've consumed its entirety of in like two days.
Jeez.
Yeah, I binged through the entire manga. I absolutely love it. The art style for Demon Slayer it's something that I haven't really seen in most newer anime or manga lately. I love the traditional Japanese art that they're using,
Yeah.
especially with
I gotta agree with that.
right,
Yeah.
especially with the water breathing that they use. Just I love the wave technique. I absolutely
It
love
looks
how
like
that looks.
Traditional Japanese tattoos look like it's got
Right.
that same feel and like same
Only
design.
movie.
Right, which I love.
And the powers that they use, the different elements, there's lightning, fire, water, air, sound, the snake. There's a few that I don't really
Yeah.
remember a lot of their breathing techniques, but beast breathing, like, oh god, what was his name?
Inosuke?
Hinosuke. Thank
Alright.
you.
I love Inosuke.
He basically learning everything that he knows just from living in the wild.
Yeah.
Like I love when certain animes have like characters that come in that are the wild ones, the ones that don't really know a lot about civilization as a whole, and they're just stupidly OP for no reason.
They're feral.
Exactly.
Right.
They're in the woods.
Yeah.
The feral training in the woods. I guess that's how you
Mara
get
Leona.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a whole nother discussion. Like Mariluna, the animation that they used for it is sharper. I personally like it because it was a little bit sharper from the manga, and they added a little bit more in depth on the characters, like the way their eyes, the hair, the way they stood, their cloaks, swords, everything was a little bit more in depth from the manga, and I absolutely just fell in love with it. One of my favorite things is how they did the Demon Slayer core and how they have the Hashira. I love
Yeah.
certain
Mhm.
anime when they have like certain tiers like that. I really loved seeing the tier system and watching characters climb that tier system, like Deku and Naruto.
That's how you get
and-
stronger.
Right, and not to
Tier
seeing
it up.
characters get stronger and watching the training arcs, and any anime that does a really good training arc that has me hooked from start to finish is doing something really good.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning, I think
While you
The
think,
annoying one.
Zenitsu?
Zenitsu, yeah. Well, he was
Yeah.
still recovering from getting.
Love
Okay.
Zenitsu.
Okay.
I hope you love him for both of us, because I can't stand his
Tanjiro.
ass. I love how strong he is and how good he is at one breath, but nope.
Thunderclap Flash.
Speaking of
I'll never
that,
get over it.
One of the things that I find really unique about their powers is they have certain breathing techniques, right? There is a list of breathing techniques going from certain numbers,
Yeah.
1 to 10, 1 to 7. The ones who have truly mastered it make forms outside of that normal.
That's
one.
really cool.
Right, like, Tomioka,
Tomioka?
yeah, the 11th form, that is something only he knows.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
cool.
that's okay. Yeah.
Cool
And
lore.
the lore alone,
Thanks,
I'm not
Chris.
going into detail on it, but the connection
That's
that
fair.
everything has to Tanjiro's family. There's a reason it's focusing on him. It's his family is involved here.
Oh.
Yeah,
Good to know.
yeah.
Even Tanjiro came up with his own like form based off of a dance his family did. Don't ruin it unless that was a form in the past and he just was like, oh yeah, I know how to do it now, blah blah blah.
It's not that.
Alright.
It's not that.
But it
but-
is something.
If you've watched Dragon Ball Super,
I haven't watched
it's
Dragon Ball Super.
basically Goku Black.
Hmm.
if-
I know Goku
to
Black.
kind of understand. It's
Yeah.
yeah. There's more that can be said about Tanjiro's character. That's going to be a lot of spoilers, mainly for you. So I'm going to leave it there. I do also love the brother sister dynamic that they have, and how he's dead set in protecting his sister and saving his sister, and I do love that.
I just hope it doesn't turn into a Luke and Leia situation.
This isn't Alderaan. And on that note,
Thanks for hanging out, guys. This is a good time. We're having a good time doing it. So if you are truly having a good time, and only if you are, leave us a like. Tell us what your favorite anime is, what you would consider in the big three, and why. And share this with your friends.
Thanks for sticking with us through the whole first season.
yeah, we really appreciate you coming up to this far.
When we come back, we're hoping to come back with either new skits. We've got ideas for 2 new types of channels. Obviously, we'll keep the podcast going, but
yeah.
hopefully we come back with not only better podcast videos, but also different types of videos to kind of keep you guys entertained and hopefully draw on even... We love you guys, but hopefully draw on even more and more viewers, and we can keep this going. But
Outside
hopefully...
of the stuff we had talked about, we also have many projects in the back burner, in the back wings, that I am really excited to be a part of for you guys, for all of us, to be with you guys, to be a part of it all. But let's not drag it on too any further. Make sure you hit that bell, comment, like, subscribe, do all the stuff. Hit the bell, because that's how the algorithm works.
This is Kakashi,
Crispy.
And Tyler.
and we are Weeb Soup.
But that's my notebook, Kashi.
This is your notebook? I think I need to go read this over here.
He's been doing research.